Okay. And I think the other important part of, and we're talking about marketing here in a lot of cases, the agent is obviously operating in that marketplace. Their website really needs to be up to scratch and needs to have all the necessary tools. And what are some insights you can give them what agents need to be doing?
Yes, well this brings us back to, I guess, the challenge that many agents think that from the property perspective, they advertise their properties on realestate.com and that's the be-all and end-all, or they advertise their holiday properties on Stays or Airbnb and that's the be-all and end-all. That in fact is not the case. What agents have done, David, is allow those advertising mediums overtake the traditional and fundamental methods that I perhaps engaged in 30 years ago and that I was trained in. And that gets down to items such as old-fashioned service, establishing old-fashioned relationships, and then trust can then emerge from that. But more specifically with holiday properties, of course, it's how the property is presented in our shop front, and our shop front today is no longer our window on the corner window of the office, but it's displayed using technology. And so, David, that brings us down to fundamentals such as photography, and many properties I look at on websites, the photography, if I may say, is appalling. Typically I see a beautiful property described in flowing words and adjectives and superlatives, and then the lead shot is of a double garage door with the garbage bins out the front, and the second shot is of a bathroom with the loo seat up, well and truly up, and the loo paper all askew. So what sort of image have I then got for the rest of the property?
Yeah, so, I mean, the other thing, I mean, we've spoken about and you're aware of our new 360 product, ImmoView. I think that's another way which they can provide a much better experience for the consumer.
Yes.
On their sites, and then obviously the booking experience needs to follow that.
Booking, of course, all of that process must be absolutely seamless, because today's consumer, or holiday guest as I'd like to call them, believe that they are time poor and everything has to happen at 100 miles an hour. And so going back to photography, photography can actually speak 1,000 words, and then the expectation of the guest, David, is something that if we're able to go beyond their expectations, we will win their hearts in a heartbeat.
No, I think the photography is important because, as you and I know from our experience in working with portals, in a lot of cases they're going to look at that thumbnail or that initial image, and if it doesn't meet their expectations, they're going to move on. They'll move on very quickly. Yeah. And so we need to forget what we personally would be looking for, but we need to analyse the demographics of our potential consumer or holiday guest, and then if we can display the items and the products that that consumer is looking for and provide for his expectations, we're going to certainly be way ahead of the rest of the market. And looking beyond the website into social media, they need to be advertising on social media as well? Well, David, you of course introduced me to social media before the word was even invented. And I wonder what you were even talking about, but that was many years ago. And I congratulate you for being so forward-thinking. But today, social media is part of our life, is absolutely part of our life in all forms of it. And one of the aspects of the social media for a potential holiday maker is that he is going to look for what other folk that have used properties or the area have commented on. So reviews can be certainly put forward in social media, and reviews overall must not be discarded. They must be embraced, and they provide the holiday manager with an opportunity to discuss whatever element of the review was perhaps controversial or enlarge on that review. Yeah, I mean, I know personally in the last 3 months I've booked 2 trips for myself, and even last year did a few, and I can tell you that those trips were booked purely on TripAdvisor and purely based on reviews.
Yes.
And that's how, obviously I looked at the pictures, and then I went and looked at the reviews, and that's how I chose where I was going to stay.
Yes, and it's an incredibly powerful tool. In fact, the whole social media platform has extraordinary power. Extraordinary power.
I mean, I say that I think sites like Facebook now, they have more power than some small countries.
Yes.
And I don't think we've seen the end of it yet. Other ways that agents can, what are some other things they can do in regards to a particular property that they may have to generate more revenue, or to remove some of the barriers? If you look on Airbnb or some of the other sites we've been talking about, the experience, as you've used the word seamless, but there's not a lot of barriers put there. There's not a lot of reasons why you can't book. What are some of the other things that you're seeing that agents can change?
Well, again, you've raised a more than interesting point. And I guess over the last 10 years, with technology providing some tools that we didn't dream were even possible 15 years ago, property managers have become somewhat complacent in providing for guests' expectations, and they've allowed technology to replace their personal contact. So if we go back and comply with old-fashioned principles, David, then we're going to be streets ahead. And some examples of that, of course, would be our contact mechanism, how we speak to holiday guests, both in our phraseology and our writing, and also the numbers of times we communicate. A barrage of communication is not acceptable. No communication is not acceptable, so it's finding the happy medium of what is the correct communication. And, for example, perhaps 3 communications prior to the guest arriving would be acceptable, and certainly a communication on the eve of their arrival, and then for whatever period the guest is staying, whether it's for 3 days or 3 weeks, certainly 1, if not 2, communications through their holiday stay would be more than acceptable.
Just to see if they're happy and everything's okay? Just
to see that they're happy. And in communicating that dialogue, it mustn't be simply a templated dialogue such as, "Dear Mrs. Sir or Madam," cross out whichever isn't appropriate. "Hope you're having a wonderful time. Good morning, the holiday team." That is so impersonal.
And having used some of these other sites we're talking about, that's really what the consumer's getting.
Yes.
And you can see it because you're getting the same response.
You're getting the same. But if we personalise it, David, and we exceed their expectations, they'll A, take notice, and B, they'll hopefully come back and use our services again.
Okay. Other things, you mentioned a stay, whether it's 3 days or 3 weeks. I know I had an experience, and I think the other thing that not so much in holiday, but agents need to consider that a lot of these short-term holiday letting is not only holiday but corporate now. And I think barriers such as minimum number of nights, or what are your thoughts on those?
Well, again, more than pertinent point. If we drive past our local motel, and we make a point of driving past that motel, we will see, if we take notice of the cars, that generally speaking, outside holiday times, a motel will average probably between 1 and 2 nights. You'll see the same car there. Now, holiday rental agents have a mindset that there is a minimum of 3 nights and we don't want to know about you unless you stay for 3 nights. Well, what I would advocate is that we make the property available for 1 night or 2 nights, and we simply adjust the tariff accordingly. But just as a small point, David, we should remove any words that say there is a minimum stay of so many nights. What we charge is a different matter, but remove that word minimum, because you and I, for instance, could well choose to to have a holiday home for 2 or 3 of our colleagues, and we're happy to pay for whatever, but we only want it for one night, and the cost is irrelevant.
And I said you adjust the tariff, and you're still going to get your cleaning fees. You're still going to
absolutely,
and the potential is for more revenue than you would.
Yes, and booking systems today, the back end of booking systems today, David, are so versatile, they'll accept the tariff changes that we need to implement. So the algorithms are so powerful in there that they'll certainly adjust to whatever the tariff system is. Go back to the fundamental, we're in the hospitality industry, not in the rental industry. And so we must comply and provide for way beyond the expectations of holiday guests.
Okay, and one of those expectations could be rewards. I mean, is that something you advocate as well?
Well, I'm a great one for rewards. No one ever rewards me with anything. However, the rewards, David, would be for frequent stayers, for folk that have inquired. And in fact, on that score, of course, a holiday manager's database is one of the most important tools that he has. His database over the years will build up and up and up, and it's not uncommon, depending on the software that the office is using, David, at the back end, to have over 10,000 names in a database. And of course, one of the fundamentals is, even though an inquiry may have been made from a particular portal, such as Stays or Home Away or Airbnb, and it's been directed to your office, there's no reason why that contact shouldn't be then transposed into your database for future activity. And then you're capturing the attention of that inquirer that can then perhaps in the future book through your office.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for your time today, Rick.
My absolute pleasure, as always, David.
I mean, Rick had a very successful holiday letting business for a long time. He's been involved in the industry at many levels. His expertise been called on all the way up to the government level. And Rick's now working to assist agencies that still offer the traditional holiday letting service do a much better job at it. So if you're interested in building your business and then want to invest in it for the future, then I'd suggest that you have a chat with Rick, and his details will be in the description for the video.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk again, David.
Thank you, Rick.